brothers, the Emperor protects!
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Asmogan and let's jump right into this one without much preamble because there's a lot to cover and I don't want to make this video too long. So, today we're going to be talking about the pro-female Space Marine camp. We're going to be talking about their maturity, lack thereof more aptly. We're going to be talking about their response to women who don't agree with them. The women that they're supposedly advocating on behalf for and the ones they're fighting for. The ones that they're standing their ground against such savages as the men over there who simply say, "Why don't you play Sisters of Battle or Sisters of Silence? They already exist. How dare they?" those fucking wimps. But yeah, we're dealing with that camp, and we'll get to this. I'm showing you guys the finish line here. We're starting with a visual of the finish line. But let me show you the race. Let me show you the race before we finish with the finish line. So, a friend of mine posted basically a long tweet chain, just basically once again, yet again, debunking the people advocating for female Space Marines. This is a regular thing nowadays for some reason, despite the fact that this conversation has, in my opinion, been settled numerous times, but I digress. We're going to be having this debate until we all die and are dust and bone on the fucking floor. Apparently. Despite the fact that 30 years ago this was settled when they wrote it on a book, but apparently not. Apparently that's debatable. It's like, hey, this is chiseled in stone. Well, that's debatable. Okay then. Whatever. So I was, I got into it, and I was replying and conversing, and we had the usual suspects show up, start calling us Nazis, calling us fascists, calling us, sexists, and pretty much the full list of ists and isms, the ones you'd come to expect from the people who have nothing else and no real argument. So, and because they have no real argument, they must try and win by simple insults, because when you don't have an argument, that's the only way to win. And it led down after, I want to say numerous hours of back and forth with this guy specifically, Jack Frost. This guy was constantly just coming back. He kept saying we were projecting, which was ironic considering that's what he was doing numerous times. He kept calling us Nazis. I kept jabbing at him with that one. He kept saying hypocritical statements. This guy was just constantly... The bad faith would be the kindest way to describe this guy's general attitude. Childish would be a fair descriptor. And downright unhinged would be a blunt way to put it. This guy was nuts. And we eventually got down to this point where he said yet again, "You're projecting. If I argued you, I'd demolish you." Then why don't you? If you just demolish us, if it's just a slam dunk victory. Why don't you, good sir? You can't say he doesn't have the time, because, by the way, this conversation, if you can call it that, debate, conversation, argument, memeing back and forth, whatever you want to call it, we were having this over the course of 6 hours. I was at work stocking shelves, and in between tasks, I was just checking my phone all day, and this conversation started when I got on my shift, and it basically ended by the time I left, and I was there 9 hours. So, why didn't you demolish us if you could? You had 9 hours to do it, but instead, no. By the way, at one point he admitted he wasn't using his brain. You didn't need to tell me that, bro. I knew that going in, that you weren't using your brain. But I don't think you've ever used your brain, let's be honest. But anyway... we got to this point, and he says,
"Y'all need to realize your community is shrinking. It is disgusting and needs to change or get out of the hobby. The hobby doesn't belong to you."
Neither does it belong to you, asshole. So anyway, I said, it doesn't belong to you either. And in fact, you think our end is shrinking? Shows how little you leave your echo chamber. But if you're looking to argue, how about an interview? I have a YouTube channel, and would love to hear from your Fem Marine arguments live. Which is true. I actually fully wanted to give this guy a chance. Say, hey, as much as I was being an asshole, I'll admit that. But to be fair, when he opened the conversation by calling us Nazis, fascists, asshats, and douchebags, I wasn't inclined to be polite. But to be fair, I was throwing a lot of jabs. I was being very, I was not taking this as a serious conversation whatsoever, and I was throwing some low blows. But it didn't really fucking matter, like, by the end. But I was like, fuck it, you know what? This guy could come on live, and after we've had a chance to breathe, breaking away from the tweets, maybe he's actually a cool-headed guy, and he just went in with, like, a warhound. Like, he was like, he got tunnel vision. He's like, I gotta fight him no matter what. And when he gets a chance to calm down, maybe he's actually a sensible human being. Boy, was that a wrong possibility that I even considered, and we'll get to that. But, of course, he said a lot of shit like this, so keep in mind, this immaturity you see right here is indicative of our entire conversation. Yes, please feel free to leave sympathy remarks in the comment section below. I would appreciate it, even though this was entertaining as fuck.
I'd rather lick a hippo asshole than spend time with you, just so we're clear.
Okay.
And once again, projection.
By the way, I could probably, if I got a nickel for every time this guy kept saying projection, even where it doesn't work, I'd probably be rich. Like this guy's 4 or 5 favorite words were projection, sexist, Nazi, fascist, and it. He said it a lot. I go to GW stores. I go to so yeah. He starts like to prove that he's not in an echo chamber. He's like,
I go to GW stores. I go to hobby stores.
There's not really a major difference, but okay. I mean, one is entirely geared towards just Games Workshop. The other has a lot of Games Workshop and maybe some other stuff. But okay.
I'm in Discord and Twitter. You guys are absolutely the minority.
Yeah, but Discords are isolated server communities, and I have a feeling your server community that you have on Discord was created from your hodgepodge of ilk that you hang out with on Twitter. So those two are you basically just said the same thing twice. It's the same group you're hanging out with. How is that not an echo chamber? And if some of those people you are friends with and you found out were in your local area and went to a local hobby store and you met up with them at that hobby store and only hung out with those people at the hobby store and you constantly just continued reinforcing each other, you're still in an echo chamber. You're not looking for outside perspectives. And even here, where you had an opportunity to hear someone else's perspective, instead you spent the entire time calling us Nazis, fascists, everything else under the sun, and refusing to hear a single thing we had to say, and even at times downright misquoting us in your direct reply to a message that said something entirely different to what you responded to, you unhinged coward. But let's get into that coward part right here. So yeah, the next part here. Afraid, I see. Just another boring keyboard warrior, lacking any semblance of a spine. You believe so little in yourself and your side, you don't feel confident you can defend it live. Coward. Exactly. Because that's exactly what he was. He was a total coward. Total bitch move. Yeah, you can... Basically, he was acting like he was a little chihuahua barking and yipping at me. But you don't make yourself look like a buff pit bull when you basically say,
no, I'm not gonna talk to you live.
Well, at that point, you might as well be a little flea on the ground. Like you just... What was that? Sorry, that's kind of an insult to Beaker from the Muppets. So, I'm sorry, Beaker. You're not as dumb as these people. You actually are a scientist. But yeah, afraid to see a coward. Love his counter to prove that he's not a coward, right? Here's how he proves it.
Not a coward. Smart. No warrior goes onto the battlefield.
Okay, sure.
Of his opponent's choosing on purpose.
Unless he has the advantage, so much so that even his opponent's choice of the field is pointless and doesn't give them any kind of advantage. Which in this case, if your side is the correct one, it doesn't matter what platform or what form of like viewership I provide you with. Your point should be unscrupulous. There should be nothing I can pry at, live in particular, that should be able to defeat you, because if you're in the right, you're in the right. That's it. Like, there's no change. There's nothing modular about that. There's nothing I can hook to and claim I got you on something. So this isn't like the two aren't comparable. It's 1-to-1, just you and me, live, so I can't edit it. There's no ADR. There's no cutting you and clipping you and making you sound dumber. And trust me, I don't need any editing help to make you look dumb. No, like, it's just live. That was what I was offering, and I clarified that here. I just said it'd be live, coward, as in live stream. No editing, no ADR. Just you and me on a call. Coward.
I don't believe you. I think you're a terrible human being.
Listen to this, folks. I am a terrible human being. But why? Did I murder someone? No. Did I attack someone with a knife? Or a gun? Or a stick? No. Did I strangle somebody in their sleep? No. Did I poison candy and give it to children on Halloween? No. Well, what did I do? What made me this horrible human being? I said I wanted a hobby to not change for political reasons. Ugh! I'm evil, aren't I? I am just a dastardly little devil. I mean, after all, these looks are a crime. Anyway. That shit aside, so, yeah. After all this, the fucker blocked me. Yeah, the bastard blocked me. Boom. Same convo. You're unable to view the tweet because he blocked me. Oh, and yes, he absolutely blocked me. If there's any curiosity, it says right here, you are blocked. I see that. Yep, the coward blocked me. And by the way, I will say this, just so no one says I'm trying to picture it wrong. He didn't block me after this specific, and we went for another like 2 or 3 hours. The reason he blocked me is we got to this point where I once again reiterated that I don't want female Space Marines, and it was just in this specific phrasing. He was like, he said this, by the way, if even one woman is kept away from the hobby because they refuse to play anything other than female Space Marines, there should be female Space Marines added for that one person. Totally, understandable perspective, and sensible too, reasonable even. One person. That's enough to change an entire hobby, people. You know how this hobby's made up of many people? It's a community-based thing. Fuck that. Change the whole thing because one bitch is a misandrist sexist who refuses to play any of the actual female factions and wants this one changed for her benefit. Because we want more narcissists in this hobby. By God. But yeah, I responded with that, I don't want female Space Marines, and I don't want women in the hobby who are like that, who would refuse to give the Sisters of Battle a shot. Even, I don't even necessarily saying they have to buy the minis. Check out the lore first, and if the lore doesn't speak to you, maybe Sisters of Silence. And yes, I get the Sisters of Silence don't have a proper line. One of the things I would like to advocate more for in the hobby is for Sisters of Silence to be upgraded to the point where they can be their own faction. Make them basically what the Custodies are to the Astartes, but to the Sisters of Battle. Make them feel like that major upgrade. One Sister of Silence being a match for like 5 Sisters of Battle. And on top of it, enhancing them, that blank gene where Sisters of Battle can have denied the witch, give the Sisters of Silence even stronger anti-psyker abilities and are more reliable. Make them their own identity, and not and yeah, they already kind of have some of that, but they're more of an add-on right now to Custodies, and what I want is for them to be their own whole faction, be a Custodies equivalent for the Sisters of Battle, and I hope one day we eventually do get a Codex Sisters of Silence. Please. But here's the thing. I'm an actual hobbyist who actually loves the lore, actually is part of the community, and wants 40 and loves 40k. I'm a hobbyist first, and I'm not an activist, period. These people are activists first. And if they were to advocate for Sisters of Silence, they would get universal support. More upgrade sprue for female guard, universal support. These are things people want more of, and these are things. These are representations and inclusivity for women that people would support. That is lore friendly, but here's the reason they don't advocate for it, and why they even scoff when it's brought up. Because if they were to support these things, and they were to come to fruition, they couldn't hold it up as a banner of victory for their ideology or their cause, because there was no pushback outside of the company itself refusing to create these lines and these models. The only pushback they would receive is from the company, if that's what they advocated for. So there's nothing to declare victory over but the company, and that's not enough. They need to declare victory. They need to showcase their power and their control over something. And to do that, you need to win over the community. The company is inconsequential, more or less. They're just the avatar in which you need to manipulate things, because there's no way you're going to get the community to universally, even if some of them agree with you, to universally align in your perspective. So you just have to have your sect, your army, fight for your cause, and you have to weasel your way into the control of the puppet. You know, you need to get your arm in the puppet so you can start controlling it. That is how you subvert and control communities and hobbies and universes. That's what these groups do. They want female space marines because it goes against the lore, because a huge portion of the community don't like it and fight back against it, because they actually care about 40k, and because of that, they get pushback. They can make it look like this big epic battle against this sexist hobbyists of 40k. And thus, win or if they eventually win and Games Workshop relents and releases a codex and says, typically, Space Marines are male, but female Space Marines are possible. They'll hold up that victory flag, and the value of Sisters of Battle will tank. They'll be non-existent in value, and that'll be it. Done and dusted. The hobby will be screwed. Everybody save your codexes of the editions that were actually good. Throw out any books that you bought that were made in the last year, and save and put in a time capsule all the stuff that was made before they were corrupted, because that shit needs to be protected from the tendrils of this ilk. That is it. And yeah, but anyway, to circle back, yeah, the fucker blocked me, and of course I took the opportunity to squat on their corpse. What, I was an Xbox 360 live, you know. I was live on those Call of Duty matches. I dropped claymores at convenient locations to kill a dozen guys in one go. So, and I camped like a fucker, so, you know how it is. So I squatted on their corpse, and after they surrendered and they gave up and they ran away, and said, fuck this coward. He ran, hid, and totally dunked out on an opportunity to defend something he believes so strongly in, right? And I thought it was over. But it was not. Because the fucker, after blocking me, the coward... This is where the cowardice really started. He's really wanted to prove me right with the coward comment, man. Like, he was going the distance to display his cowardice as strongly as possible. From here, he started messaging and adding nearly all of my followers, which at the time was like 60 or something like that. And he started adding them like 3 at a time, and started hitting them up and saying shit like, did you know that a guy you follow... Basically, he's trying to guilt trip people into, unfollowing me because I'm such an evil person. It never occurred to this guy, maybe these people follow him because they already know he's an asshat? Because here's the thing, I am an ass. People who follow me know that. Like, this is nothing new to the people who are subscribed to Asmogan, okay? This is an asshole. But anyway,
Did you know the guy you follow doesn't want there to be female 40k Marines?
Indeed I do not. I am proud of this perspective, fuckhead. 40k Marines.
And says anyone who wants them in order to feel included should have no place in his hobby.
Now that's where he started lying. I never said that. I never said anyone who wants them in order to feel included should have... should have no place in my hobby. I said if that is preventing you from being part of the hobby, if that is such a big deal to you that you refuse to play Marines unless they have a vagina like you do, that is a misandrist perspective to have. You are a sexist, and you need to get over yourself. And I don't want those kind of people in the hobby, because who wants more a sexist, gender-obsessed morons in a hobby where we already got idiots like this motherfucker? So, no. So yeah, he shows this off like it's some kind of victory. And by the way, this is the comment. He conveniently crops out the first part of his comment. He cherry-picked it. Because the part that he cropped out of his own comment was him mentioning the female Space Marines and stuff. And that's what I was responding to. And he knew that correct I don't was responding to the first part of his comment that he cropped out. But he said, who want this to feel included? Blah, blah, blah. So, and this is the comment where he said, if even one woman, needs female Space Marines to be in the hobby to feel included, they should, therefore, and for me arguing against it, therefore I'm a sexist because I'm arguing against it, which, by the way, if you're wondering how the fuck does that follow, how does someone, advocating not for female Space Marines and, not wanting misandrists to join the hobby and sexists to join the hobby, how does that make them sexist? It's kind of retarded, but here we are. You didn't do my citations though, so thread, I don't even know. The thing is, I don't even know what that meant. You didn't do my citations. I responded directly to his comment, so that was like the most random part of his comment. And this is the part where he started going unhinged, I think. But yeah, I responded, correct. I don't. If Space Marines not being female prevents them from joining the hobby, they weren't interested to begin with, which is true. If that is the end-all be-all of you being in the hobby, then don't get in the hobby. There's more to the hobby than that. The hobby has other things other than Space Marines. You got orcs that don't have gender. They're just fungus. They're androgynous. There's nothing down there. You got Tyranids. You got Tau. There's females amongst the Tau, by the way. You got Chaos Space Marines, which, by the way, I would be down for Chaos Space Marines getting female Space Marines. You know why? Because Fabius Bile is a fucker with like the mutating and the biological fuckery, and he's been working on like mutating Space Marines and shit for a long time, and plus experimenting on women and killing millions of them to eventually get that one success from which you can build other successes from is more of a chaos way to go about it, where the Imperium is more just to repeat what works and only experiment where they can, but do so minimally because they don't have the resources to constantly do it. Whereas Chaos can constantly raid, reave, and take what resources they need to constantly experiment. And Fabius Bile has been working on better Space Marines, so him leading to, with all the research he's done, I could easily believe he would, even incidentally, result in female Chaos Space Marines. That would be okay. Though I would still argue that there's a lot of, fairness to be said about that, needing to be built up to. Like, it can't just tomorrow be like, oh, by the way, there's female Space Marines. Fabius Bile figured it out. No, it needs to be a build-up. Like, let's start with a book that mentions Fabius working on some women and just experimenting because he wants to. Then some other books where, it gets referenced, like, the path of success, like, where's it going, what's his goal with it, and actually give him a goal with it other than just, Space Marines with vaginas! Yay! Give it something more to it than that. But again, this is where it can work. Loyalist Marines, though, no. It cannot work. It's been explained. Cope. But, yeah, I said, if you're a sexist that can't look past that, then don't join the hobby. I'm sorry. I don't want self-absorbed people, and more self-absorbed people than like this asshat in the hobby. Forgive me. Well, actually, don't. I don't care if you forgive me or not, but whatever. So yeah, so he starts messaging all my followers and says, feel included should have no place in his hobby. Didn't say that. That's a lie. And even in the post, he says right there, I say the hobby. I don't say my hobby. I don't say my universe. I don't say my 40K. I don't say my... Never was said. Never was said. The guy is a liar. Flat out. And that shouldn't be a shocking. Everything I've shown up to this point should not give you the impression this is a good, genuine or honest person in any capacity. That's it. So yeah, they started doing that with my followers, and they started shit-talking them and saying some rude stuff, which leads us to this part. They messaged one of my followers who was a female, and they recognized as a woman, And yeah, what you saw there in the previous tweet, right here, this was to one of them, and they responded, "Do you know how much of a fuck I give? No." That's right, because you go saying stupid shit without thinking. I'm not even into Warhammer, which she's not, by the way, this particular follower of mine. She's an amazing, beautiful person who is a very recent addition to my little community. But she has really cemented herself very quickly. She's got a great sense of humor, and she really livens the place up a lot. And she has an amazing sense of humor, and I cannot understate just how amazing this person is. The only reason I don't bring up their name and thank them right here on camera is because I don't want them to get more shit from evil asshats like this dude. So yeah, she mentions that she's not into Warhammer, but there's no fucking need to put women into every single faction. She's heard our conversation. She's gotten the gist. And that's the thing. Just listening to our conversations is far more educational about the hobby than listening to people like this. But they have others already canon. So yeah, keep posting shit out of context. Good on ya. And he responded, "Wow, so you're a piece of crap,
Wow, so you're a piece of crap masquerading as a human too? What a shame."
What was that about advocating and encouraging women? We're fighting on behalf of women. We want them in the hobby. Woman disagrees? Time to put her in her place. Right? Something tells me that's a little bit of a sexist way of going about things. But, oh ho, this is not where it ends, my friends. Oh no. It gets worse. So, I thought this was bullshit, and I tweeted yet again the screenshot of him saying this, and I said, "Pro-woman, till women disagrees. Standard operating procedure of the political ideologues and cowards," which Jack Frost is both. Keep mauling, ya coward. Because he was mauling hard. To the point where he was responding to my tweets, while keeping me blocked, by the way. I haven't blocked him, but he blocked me. But he was responding to people that were replying directly to these tweets. These tweets after he blocked me. And even trying to harass one person who was offering to take his place and interview with me to support the pro-female space marine thing. Which, by the way, that person, credit to them. And hopefully we can get an interview set up. We're setting one up soon. We're going to have some conversation back and forth. With any luck, they'll be a good example of the pro-female space marine community. I mean, they're already infinitely better than this asshat, and in my experience, this asshat represents the majority of these people. But this person that I'm talking to in DMs right now and conversing with and trying to set up a live interview with about the perspective of pro-female space marines, they seem pretty cool. They seem genuine and open and willing to have a conversation. So they're already in the 1% of this community or this group off the bat. But yeah, it gets worse than this. This is not the worst that this scumbag has done. No. That brings us to this one. One of my followers, a wonderful, amazing person, who, by the way, I'll just say my own tweet because I say it all right here. The pro Fem Marine camp at its finest. The second image was said by the coward Jack Frost to a woman soldier, Syl, one of the most amazing women I have ever had the pleasure to know. And this is true. It's 100% true. I'm going to be entirely serious right now. Syl has been a beacon in my community. A beacon in my community. She says hi to everybody every morning. She is very friendly. She sends us hugs. She is very loving. She's kind of a mother hen of the community. I'm the other mother hen. There's two of us. But without her, the community would have fallen apart a couple times. And I owe her so much. I've gotten to know her quite well, obviously as far as, the internet allows, over the years, and this person, Syl, deserves pure praise. nothing less. She has sacrificed herself for her country in Germany to be a soldier, to fight for the freedoms that the people in Germany can enjoy. And though I'll jab at Germany for some of the laws they have from time to time, and I do think there are some objective less freedoms there, and also less freedoms in places like the UK compared to America. But regardless, they still have freedoms of a sense that she fights to defend. She sacrifices for that. And she had a full conversation with him where she was, in my opinion, incredibly kind, regardless of how he spoke to her. Regardless of how dismissive, how rude, and how obnoxious. Finally, their conversation, after numerous tweets back and forth, she ended it with one final statement. No, you see, you gotta learn how to read. Because he wasn't listening. Like with me, he was completely responding to her as if her comment said something else completely from what it actually said. But I guess you are a lost cause. Try to live your life in peace. In the peace people like me provide to you through our sacrifices. Have a good day. Have a good life, Sadiki. I don't know if I said that correctly. And what was his response? By the way, there's no gap really between these two. There's really no gap. Yeah, you got tweet, response. Nothing in between. Get herpes from the one you love. This is to a lesbian woman, by the way. A lesbian woman in the military. Get herpes from the one you love. Fall down a flight of stairs and die alone and unloved, you smegma-filled cockhole. What was that about being pro-Fem Marine for inclusivity? Women should feel included in the hobby. And if even one woman, this is how much you value women supposedly, if even one woman is turned away from the hobby because Space Marines specifically aren't female, then the hobby should change for that one person. But a woman disagrees with you. A woman says to you, no. We have women in the hobby. The women we have in the hobby are amazing. And if someone is turned away by such a face level thing, such an epidermal level thing, then they were never going to be committed enough to actually invest in the hobby past a hollow fiscal level. And your response, you tell someone to die. You advocate for their suicide. You advocate for them to suffer. A woman. Part of the gender that you're fighting for, supposedly. And not only do you do this, but you also turn racist. And I don't mean fake racist. I don't mean what these people mean when they say racist. Oh no. Oh no. I mean racist. True, unadulterated racism. Jack Frost says, another comes to play. This is when another one of my community jumped in defense of Syl, who deserves much better than scum like this. Excellent. And they aren't a woman. They're referring to Syl, who is a woman, by the way. So why is Jack Frost saying Syl's not a woman? Is it because somewhere she said she wasn't? Is it somewhere in her bio she says he, him? No. It's because he doesn't want her to be. Because he recognizes that if she is a woman, what he said just there completely annihilates him. In any sense, for being able to advocate for Fem Marines under the basis of women's advocacy in the hobby. So, because of that, she's not a woman. He can declare another's gender for the convenience of being allowed to insult them and advocate their harm and advocate their suicide for his benefit. And to simply avoid punishment from his own ilk. He only need be staunch that she isn't a woman because he doesn't want her to be. They're a Palestinian man in Germany, from what I can tell. There's no basis for man. I know Syl is not one. So again, this is just under the basis that he wants her to be a man. So what he said here, by their perspective, can be considered appropriate or even fair as a response. Not the immature diatribe of a unhinged coward, as it is. No. This would be considered a fair response if it were a man. But if it were a woman, well, let's be honest, with the ilk that he spends time with, this would still be okay by their advocacy. They don't have any moral standards or personal principles, after all. In Germany, from what I can tell, they probably hate Jews. Why? Well, it's because they're Palestinian. Oh! So now you're racist. So on top of this person who supposedly hates racists, hates bigots, fights the fash so hard, gives the Nazis what for? Because they're sexist, because they're racist. You tell a woman that she's a smegma-filled cockhole. A 4chan level response. And then you make aspirations about her based on her race and her nationality. So not only are you a hypocrite in the sense of your women's advocacy in the hobby, you're also a hypocrite in terms of racism. How truly beautiful. Unsurprising, but beautiful. Oftentimes, it's much harder to display these people because they're sometimes pretty good at hiding it in terms of obviousness of their hypocritical stances. But when it's this transparent, it makes you just want to smile. So this cowardly, racist, sexist bigot assumes that Syl hates Jews. Anyway, they're blocked, and you aren't. Where do you want to go with this? Well, I know where I'd want to go. I'd want to be blocked by you. Not that it'll stop you from talking shit. I'm in case of that. You kept trying to get people to unfollow me behind my back. Which, by the way, I gained 14 followers. And counting, by the way. So, your attempt to do anything to me failed. So not only are you a coward, a sexist, a racist, a bigot, but you're also a failure. And we already knew that last part pretty thoroughly. But the rest of it is just icing on the cake. Get fucked, coward. And get fucked every one of his ilk that are just like him. Which is the majority by my experience. Anyway, I spent this entire video very, very directly displaying to all of you what the pro-Fem Marine community are made of. Now, yes, this is one example. But from my experience, this is the quintessential example. Not the exception, but the rule. This is what we're up against, folks. These are the supposed warriors for justice. What warriors they are. My name is Asmogan. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.